Hi, Lynn.
How are you, Heather?
I'm just great. My blood pressure is like
That looks like me earlier today.
Hey, Sarah. I see your big old hand.
Hey. My hands are little.
Your fingernails are looking really nice, though.
Mani-pedi yesterday.
Have either of you ever tried those stickers?
I'm not very good at them.
Well, I mean, I almost never do anything to my hands. But I've heard about those and I thought, wow, I wonder about those. Those might last longer than the usual stuff, but I don't know.
No, mine look terrible after I try.
I think you have to be talented enough to get the sticker on there without getting it all over the rest of your finger. I don't think I can do that.
Yeah. I'm the one who's got the nail polish remover and a Q-tip, so I can.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I will mute myself again and let you get ready.
So I'm going to experiment with a share screen if you want to see if you're going to see this or not. All righty. All right. So do you all see the correspondence? Yay! Okay. I can figure out how to do this then. All right, I'm gonna stop. All right. Hey, Kathleen.
Hey, as
How are
I
you?
started to say, but I was muted. School
Yeah.
board meeting this morning, babysat all afternoon. I just got home from babysitting. Turned my computer on, Zoom.
Do you need to go grab a snack or something to drink? We're the only four here
I
so
just
far.
had a little something there, and
Okay.
well, my grandson and I took him through Wendy's, so good to go.
All right. Let Tracy in here.
There's that good-looking Tracy.
Yep.
I think Tracy just got done eating. You just got eaten, Tracy?
Rushing from one place to another, usually that's what I'm doing. Yeah. Right. Here comes Karen.
Karen.
Karen. So Tracy, has it been a stay-at-home day, or you've been able to, or you have to go somewhere?
We actually have been told we're not to work in the office or at a school until August 1st, at least.
Oh, wow.
So
Everything at home, yay.
end of year is a little crazy when you can't like get in and help people with inventory. I have, with this year, I have 14 new librarians. So I have folks that
Don't have any idea.
know. And I basically said, you've got books out. You don't know when they're coming back.
Right.
Skip it.
Yeah.
Skip it this year.
Mhm.
Because the one thing they don't think about is they assume you have to completely close the library to do your inventory, and you can do that while things are circulating. So I told them, if you're concerned or if your boss is concerned, once you feel like you've got everything back in, you can do one item group at a time over the course of the year and just,
Yep. Karen disappeared.
Oh no.
I see the top of your head
Top of my head?
and
Oh,
then
no,
the top
we
of
can-
Karen's head.
Oh, Karen's. Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say, I've got my tablet in front of my larger monitor, so. Oh, and there she disappeared. And there she is.
The top of her head and 1 foot there a little bit ago. Yep, there's that foot.
So Karen, I didn't know if I had you on mute or if you wanted to be on mute or if you wanted to be unmuted to say hello.
No, I say hello and I'm not muted, hopefully. I'm
You're not muted now. I had it set so everyone knew as they came in was muted, but you're unmuted now. And here comes Sue.
okay. Is Vivian gonna be on the books tonight? Vivian was on.
Sue,
Is she on the?
I'm here.
Why did
Okay.
should I leave Vivian on an agenda or something or?
Yes, you have on financial report, Vivian?
No, that was
That-
just me not catching it because I
Okay,
copied and pasted from last year, maybe.
that's okay, that's fine.
Sorry, Sarah. I've been catching it, but not this time. Yep, boom. Correction number 17. At
Okay,
least.
that's good.
So I think we're only missing Harold at this point because Barb has, oh, Mark also. Barb has a conflict this evening, so she will not be joining us.
Okay.
Whose foot?
That would be Karen's foot. Karen's showing us. I hope they're clean, Karen.
That's,
Say they look very soft.
it around there.
Oh, hi.
Okay, all right. I went talking about, realize it's my foot talking about. Oh, boy. Okay. The longer we stay away from the hairdresser, the longer my hair is going to get. Gosh,
I'm not unhappy.
that looks good, Tracy. Yeah.
I'm lucky that it fits in a ponytail now because it's I was growing out all those layers and they're just everywhere, but you can't tell.
Well, I have to admit that I was fortunate because I was due for a haircut right when everything closed down. So mine got canceled and my hairdresser was really good and called me. She actually saved me a spot and called me and she said, I know we missed you right away. So, yep.
yes, I got closed down and my hair grows really fast. So I have an appointment the 29th.
Okay.
I had my most important appointment this week, and that was my massage.
Oh,
Well, my massage, I haven't been able to get that and I really need it.
you've got your priorities right.
So we just are missing Harold.
Harold
Yeah.
and Mark. Oh, here comes Mark right now.
There's Mark.
Mark.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Mark.
Only Kathleen. I don't see Mark.
Kathleen, would you like me to mute everyone and have people raise their hand for wanting to speak, or how would you like that to go?
However you want to do it. I know at our school board meeting, you couldn't tell who was making the motion, so we made them say their name.
Oh, shoot.
Now, I think with Mark or Harold, we should be able to tell, but
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Who else
you
can?
know, and just before we get started here, we'll just wait a few more minutes. You want to for Harold, but you know, they've been showing the Sunday night movies.
Yes.
You know, so this Sunday night, it's oh, what was that you? I mean, you'd go and it would be sold out.
Mission Impossible.
Hmm?
You mean the one they just
The
had?
big ship that sank.
Titanic.
That one.
You dumb cat.
Everywhere we went, finally we saw it over Kings Island and barely got in. That was the fourth try.
Well, I don't understand. I've got a list on my phone and I can't get into the meeting on my iPad. Lynn, what do I do?
Well, I see that you are on right now. Okay, we can see your face. And you are also waiting to be added in.
Well, okay. I can turn my phone off and just go to my iPad, which is probably better.
Whichever works best for you.
Yeah. Okay. Can I just turn this one off? The other one off? Yeah.
I don't want to do it from here because I'm not sure which one I'd be turning off. Are you looking? Okay.
There she comes.
Alrighty then.
Okay, that's off now.
We can hear you.
I know. Okay. Okay, there I am. Yeah, I'm here. Now, what do I punch? It says call using internet dial.
You don't need to because we can hear you.
Good. And this, but you're blanking out and I've got this square in the center. It says to hear others, please join audio.
Okay, well, go ahead and join audio and then I can cancel this out.
You're big and yeah, you're good.
You, however, are echoing all over the place.
I think that's because her phone's still connected.
Yes, I'm looking to see which one is, okay, that one's muted, so I guess that's the one I'm going to disconnect. Oh, she did.
Hey, okay. There we go.
Thank you.
All right, well, I do not
My phone in here.
see Harold coming in at this point in time. I have 6:37. I don't know if you want to go ahead and start, Kathleen.
Let's just go ahead and start. Call to order, roll call. Well, I guess we're all here except Harold and
Do you want me to call names?
Sure.
Mark,
Hello, Mark.
are you
Here.
here, Mark?
say here, Mark.
I am here.
Okay, Mark's
Karen,
here. I'm
Tracy,
here.
Here.
Sue,
Yes, I'm here.
and Kathleen.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Public participation, I guess, is Heather public No,
She's
not really.
No, she's actually a staff member
Yeah.
and Sarah.
So approval of the minutes of the April 15th, 2020 regular meeting.
It's happening. How did I do it
Do
last time?
we need a motion for that?
I will move to accept the minutes from April 15th, 2020.
Okay, I'll second it.
All right, Mark,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Tracy. Can you hear me, Tracy?
Yes.
And Kathleen,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, correspondence.
Sure, I have a few things and I'll just remind everyone that even though there is no public participation actually joining us in the Zoom meeting, we are broadcasting over YouTube Live right now. So there may be people who are watching on YouTube. So the Public Library Fund for May was $86,500 to the county, roughly. Our share was 53,600 and change. Sarah, I assume we've already gotten that in our accounts. Yes, so that's good that it's in there, even though it may not be quite as much as we would have liked to have seen. The state did indicate that April does tend to be a larger month of taking in revenue normally, but because they extended the deadlines for income tax and such, you know, that is going to be spread out. So it's hard to tell whether some of the decrease is because people are not paying until later or just because there's not going to be as much revenue from the other taxes, not just the income tax, but sales tax. So we're going to see over the next several months some changes. So it's hard to get attached to any specific numbers at this point in time. If you had not seen the governor's press conference yesterday, there was a change made, which surprised me. I don't know if it surprised anyone else, that the stay-at-home requirement has been changed to a strong encouragement for people to stay at home. I have not seen any guidance from Ohio Library Council at this time in terms of, does that mean that libraries can move to open more quickly? I think it would be wise for us to stay probably with the plan that the board made till June 10th and see what comes of that. But
Right.
that was a new factor that kind of took me by surprise. And then Ohio Library Council, lots of information coming out from them, several messages every week. But not all of it is about COVID-19 anymore, which is kind of refreshing, although they are being very good to help keep us in tune with recent developments. One of the pieces of information is that while there is no requirement to open our doors by a specific date, they are continuing to support the slow phased in approach and that we have to follow the Department of Health protocols. So we are keeping tabs on when those things change. A couple of other points that recently came about, and they have been things that have been discussed by the management team, are that libraries can recommend or require patrons to wear facial coverings unless one of those exceptions apply. So that will be something that we'll need to specifically discuss when we get to that point of actually allowing patrons in the building. 50% of the fire code is the capacity at which we can let people in. Of course, there's that 10 people is a mass gathering guideline, but the library is not really a mass gathering unless you have a program, which we're not doing. So there are lots of little nuances to deciding how we make how we allow people in. Just want you to be aware of those, not asking
Right.
choices, decisions at this point, but some points we'll have to look at later. If you had not heard or remembered, the state librarian is retiring and a new librarian was hired. Wendy Knapp is coming to us from Indiana, and she'll be starting on June 8th. It'll be interesting to see as she takes over the reins how that might change the trajectory of the state library services and how that impacts public libraries. We will be looking at and talking about later the CARES Act, which we know provided stimulus funding for a lot of other organizations and individuals. There was a grant rolled out for libraries, so we'll be looking at applying for that. We'll talk about that later. OLC has been really fabulous about providing webinars and good legal guidance. And we'll also talk about that more when we actually focus on COVID-19. There is a website now for the Battelle OCLC study that is being done on library materials. Libraries have been waiting for definitive guidance on how long the virus can last on materials, and it's being studied right now by OCLC and Battelle. And so there is a website called REALM, REALM, Reopening Archives, Libraries, and Museums is what that stands for. Big surprise acronym, right? So if you're interested in that, I know that it's probably going to be flooded by libraries probably around the world, not just in,
Yeah,
in
right.
the States. Waiting for that. I believe OCLC, not OCLC, I believe OLC told us that mid-June is when the first results from their testing is due out. So it's still going to be several weeks. One of the things that I first asked myself when I heard that the restrictions about stay at home were being loosened and turning, instead of requirements, to recommendations was, well, does this negate the ability for public bodies to meet by video conference or conference call? Too soon to tell at this point, you know, since that was only yesterday that was announced. Ohio Library Council has not provided any guidance, but it will be something we'll be watching for in the future. Many public bodies have more than 10 members who would be present, so I think that they probably will not be messing around with that until the end of the year. If you know, they may then extend it as well, depending upon what happens in the fall and the winter. And I believe, oh, okay, that's it for Ohio Library Council guidance. But there were two other things that popped up since I sent you or sent out the list of correspondence this morning. One was just a complete oversight on my part. I had in my office a thank you note, and I might have mentioned it at the special meeting we had, but thank you note came from a staff member, and it was addressed to the Board of Trustees, thanking you for caring for all of the BCPL library staff. This person felt so cared for and protected during this unusual and unpredictable time, and really felt blessed to be less worried about their own finances and their job. We also, and she apparently was speaking for both herself and the rest of the staff, feel so grateful to Lynn for all her amazing care and time she has spent on helping us through this. And I would just add that it's not just me, it's the whole management team is part of making sure everyone's considered, and we're trying to make the right decisions. But I wanted you to know that, and that was from Ginny Jacobs. So it was very nice to hear that, especially as I then listened to a voicemail message that had been left for me by a patron, which was the complete opposite side of the spectrum. And I prefer, because this is a patron and I do not want to chance violating any privacy. I'm not going to mention any names at this time, but I felt that my job was being threatened, and being threatened with perhaps a lawsuit. And so, because the library is not being opened quickly enough in this person's estimation. And so I made a recording of that voicemail, and we'll be sending it along to our attorney to review. But you probably all know who this person is. This person has addressed the board before. So while I'm not overly concerned, you need to know about
Right.
someone's
Okay.
displeasure about our choices. So there's that. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. Reports, the financial report. Who printed these out? I thought Vivian was gone.
She is gone. I pointed that
But
out.
it's not Vivian on here.
Yeah,
instead of Sarah.
Me.
Did you notice that?
I did not notice that, obviously. So I admitted to that being mistake number, what, 17, or was that 27 or 37? I don't know. So.
It's okay.
Okay,
It's
Sarah.
okay. Yes,
It's gonna be me. We don't have a guest speaker this evening.
it's okay. It's fine.
I did
just
talk-
I
did talk
thought
to
maybe
Vivian
you were on
yesterday.
vacation. Who knows?
No, I talked to Vivian yesterday. She's doing really well.
Oh, good.
Tired of the rain, of course.
Oh, sure. Everyone is.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. I'm so tired of rain. That's been worse than being shut in.
Yeah. So financials, the appropriation summary, you'll notice under the month-to-date expenditures, we're a little bit higher under library materials. And I think that's from Hoopla and Overdrive. We're adding a lot more money to the digital stuff. So we padded that pretty high to get it started, because we're encouraging our patrons to use digital. Bank reconciliation. Our adjusted bank balance as of 4/30 is 802,000. I think compared to last year, we're probably right in the ballpark. We're not going to see the effects of COVID-19 for probably a few months, I would think. So that's where it should be. Outstanding payments. I do have Brown County Educational Service Center. I do have 2 outstanding checks that have not cleared yet, dated 3/10. And what those are is, we had some GU trainers that needed background checks before all this happened. And the Education Service Center has been closed, so they have not been able to do background checks. So I still do have 2 outstanding checks. Hopefully we may have to end up voiding them, but it would be nice if they would open and they could get their background checks. The general fund cash flow report, under actual April, we got the PLF, I could talk. That was 46,403.70. We did get a little bit of a homestead tax of 4136. And then services provided by other entities. Our law library space, they were awesome, and they paid us for the rest of the year already. So that was really nice of them. So they, instead of their $1,500 per quarter, they just went ahead and paid it all, which was $45.90. So we're thankful to get that. I'm anxious to see what our salaries look like after we're doing our first payroll. I'm going to process tomorrow with the furloughed people. So I'm anxious to see what those numbers look like after we get an idea of that. Cash summary by fund. We had no transfers for April. Our adjusted bank balance, we already talked about that. Fund summaries. Currently, our open POs are about at $101,000. Credit cards, a lot of book stuff. I never can say that word, expenditure reconciliation. So I started to calculate the payroll for the 30th of May, and we're at around 19,000, a little bit more than that. So if you look at the gross payrolls for the April 15th and the April 30th, we're at 31,000 and 29,000. So we're like around 11,000 ish difference between having those furloughed people. So like I said, I'm anxious to see what happens for a full month without those folks. Any questions about the payment listing? I didn't see anything that was crazy. You'll notice Midwest tape was 12,000. That was for our hoopla. No questions? Any questions about the financials? Okay.
Your investment reports.
I don't have an investment report.
Okay, but do we have a motion to accept?
Oh,
Karen? I'll
I
make a
move.
motion to accept the financials.
okay.
I'll
Karen,
second.
Karen and Mark.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So I heard Mark. Sue,
Yes.
Mhm.
Karen,
Yes,
Tracy,
Yes.
and Kathleen.
Yes. Okay, 5A2, review of proposed budget revision.
So at the special meeting, we talked about the fact that the PLF might be dropping as much as 20% because of state tax revenues. So that was kind of what we were planning for. I did a first draft of what a revised spending plan might look like. And actually was pretty pleased that the first time around, we hit pretty close to still making our minimum fund balance at the end of the year. So I'd just like to go over what my thought process was. So if you feel that I should be looking at any other particular areas where we'll potentially have to make further cuts, then I'll have some guidance for the next couple of months as we see how the revenues are coming in. So I only gave you the general fund. I did not give you all of those special funds because the special funds either have got money coming in from independent funding sources, or we transfer some money in. And you'll see that I'm recommending we're going to reduce some of those transfers, or at least wait till the very end of the year to see how things play out. So on the revenue side, one of the pages says 2020 revenue plan. Basically what I did was I said, okay, we need to look at a possible 20% reduction for the PLF. We were told by the state auditor that local levy money should be pretty stable. We always plan for some delinquents anyway, and I went ahead thinking it was more on the conservative side to actually plan on about an 8% additional reduction of local levy money, just in the event that there might be more delinquents or non-payments than usual. I also went ahead, and because we talked about not having any fines through the summer, and there may be the possibility that we don't do any the rest of the year, I just stopped any fine collections after what we already collected. So the numbers in there just show what we've already gotten in.
okay, that's good.
Reduced the amount of contributions coming in. You know, people may be less apt to make donations depending upon their situations, a little bit less on the interest and dividends. So that brought everything down. And at the very, or near the very bottom of that revenue plan, I just I gave you the comparison, what originally we had planned for, what those reductions come out to, and it shows that overall, it's just bringing revenues down by between 11 and 12%. So that includes the 20% of PLF reduction, but everything else considered, it kind of evens us out at 11.5%. So that made it a little bit easier to not have to cut so drastically on the expenditure side, but we have to be aware that if we need to cut, if revenues are not even that good coming in, we'll need to do some more cutting on the expenditure side. So on the expenditure side, and that's the other 2 pages that you got, is just, again, just the general fund expenditures. Some notes on that. So, you know, we already are in a furlough for some of our staffing. And so what I did was I looked at wages and I said, okay, if we did 3 months of the furlough at the 100% that they're at now, because that's the time frame for the pandemic stimulus money that would continue to provide them, you know, the income while they're not employed by the library. And we then looked at another 3 months of partial furlough. Say, for example, we went with the Shared Work Ohio program and only had to come up with 50% of their wages, and the other 50% were subsidized, or some combination thereof. That's where I came up with those wage numbers. And so we're looking at 6 months of some kind of reduced level of staffing that would be somehow otherwise subsidized, so that staff members are actually making an income, but we're not having to pay for it out of library funds. Obviously, some of those other staffing lines, the benefits, you know, go down with it. PERS contributions obviously would go down proportionally, et cetera. And then as far as general expenditures, different categories jumped out at me as being things that we could do different things with. For example, travel. I'm not having to drive to meetings, you know, 4 or 5 days a week. So we probably can count on at least $2,000 reduction overall in that line.
Good. Yeah.
I also looked at the fact that we always plan in that 329 line. That's where we pay our internet out of. There's no reason that we shouldn't get our E-rate internet reimbursement. So I just went ahead and brought that line down to what actually we would pay for the rest of the year out of that line. So that saved us another $2,400. I also looked at the fact that our water and sewer bills should be going down because we do not have as many people in and out of the building. So I'm looking at, you know, about a 10% reduction there, 5% reduction maybe in electricity, since we don't have all the computers and all the lights on all the time. And materials budget down by 15%. Now, overall, I believe if I can find my right notes, I think that we're still at about 17% of the entire budget spent on materials. So that's not the 20% that's that kind of ideal,
Yeah.
but it's very close. I mean, we've been between 17 and 19% for probably the past 10 years. So I felt pretty good about leaving it at that level. And again, we are shifting our spending priorities, looking more at digital materials rather than print materials, actual physical items. And that's a whole nother discussion too about, you know, how the circulation of regular materials, and is that a long-term thing or a short-term, but that's another piece of it. And then toward the bottom of that second page, the line 910 line, operating transfers out, I significantly made some changes there. I looked at reducing our transfer to the technology fund by a little over $12,000, completely eliminating the GU, because normally we would have been making about a $7,000 transfer into the Guiding Ohio Online program, but the management team decided we're not going to apply for it this coming year. The workload is just too extensive as we're trying to convert all of our programming and everything else to virtual rather than on-site programming. And, you know, we also don't know what we're going to have in terms of staffing to be able to monitor that. And if we're going to go for the IMLS grant for other specific items, we figured we couldn't handle two at once. And then capital improvements, reducing that transfer by about $30,000. So that's where I came up with the money. And again, like I said, it's just under $330,000 as the minimum fund balance at the end of the year. 350 is what our target is. I wasn't concerned this month about making that number because we really don't know what the next couple of months hold for us. And so I guess what I'd really like is if anyone has any ideas about where else to look, you know, please give me feedback now or some other place. I mean, obviously our materials expenditures is our big discretionary pot of money. But we also know that that's a big place where we serve our patrons. And so we'll need to look at that carefully. So questions?
No questions.
So the good thing is, and Sarah was asking me about this earlier, we don't have to approve this and send it along to the county auditor. I said, no, this is just our internal, our plan for what we're going to do if the revenues do not show up as we wanted them to. So.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the next one, huh? The librarian's report, 5B1, building report and statistics.
So you got both March and April. We're catching up on reports here since March was a non-meeting month. And you will note that we've changed format. March was our standard format with the success and the learning experience and something unique and a need and a goal. And I asked the managers to do something a little more general since nothing's routine, you know, anymore.
Yeah. Right.
So thoughts, questions? This is where I throw Heather under the bus and say, if anybody has any questions, you've got a manager here to answer some.
Is Heather listening carefully now?
Oh, she is.
Do what,
Okay.
Karen?
No, I was just being funny. You know, Lynn said she was throwing Heather under the bus. So I thought, okay. No, I don't have any questions. It looks like a very full schedule right now. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen next week. You know,
I was able to turn in my book club book today and pick up June's book.
oh, good.
And Heather did say, I saw her hand raised and yes, no, you don't want to talk?
Stop muting me.
No, I was
There she
unmuting
is.
you. I was unmuting you, girl.
I think we were going for it at the same time.
Mhm.
One of the questions at our managers meeting on Monday was, you know, for us to think about what we wanted to put on those building reports, besides the success and the learning experience and
Yeah.
whatnot. Is there something specific that you guys would like to see from us on those reports?
Not yet. It'll show up, but not yet. Somebody's
I
talking.
understand if you don't. I understand if you don't have an answer. We all kind of went, huh, COVID brain. I can't think of anything right now.
Mhm. Pretty much. Thanks, Heather. I appreciate that. You all, yes.
I just thought it's something that might be interesting, maybe not. Just because I come from the land of education, any like specific interactions that you have with schools.
Mm. Right. That's something we can prep them for so they can be paying attention. I can't throw anything off the cuff in the past, couple of months, except for, trying to make sure that we're aware of what the schools are doing in terms of fulfilling the rest of the school year, and so that we can help, support that. But we can certainly pay attention to that to be able to mention it for the next time.
We don't know what they're gonna do in the fall, though, do we?
They
No.
don't know either. I don't think a lot of them. Yeah. And really, actually, the same question kind of applies to statistics as well. So you'll
I
notice
know.
that I gave you March statistics in the traditional format that we had been using to this point.
Yeah,
And as I said, don't pay too much attention to that comparison with March of 2019 because we were closed for about half of the month. In April, we also left it the same way, just because we had not yet worked out something different, but April was a full month of being closed, so you can see the huge changes in comparison to prior.
lots of zeros, yeah.
Lots of zeros. Well, we stopped programs completely, and
Yeah.
but I did include for you separate pieces of information about some of the electronic things that we've been doing, so that you could see.
Right, I saw
those.
that, yeah.
So there's a page on Wi-Fi hotspot use, and on
Mhm.
Overdrive,
Hoopla.
and also on Hoopla.
Mhm.
I will note, Heather, what was it 8 that you thought was supposed to have? Okay, so in the hotspot, we still have not figured out why, but Mount Orab should have had 8 circulations. What we did in April with hotspots was, the due dates were extended for everything, but we knew how significant those hotspots were to the people who were trying to finish up school, or those who were trying to work from home and didn't have
Right.
access. So with the addition of capacity, so we went from 5 hotspots per building to 10 hotspots per building.
Right.
We also allowed people to request them, just our own patrons, not anybody from outside the Brown County Public Library system. But the ability to place a hold made it so that we had to find a way to exchange the items. So basically we were doing some on-demand curbside for hotspots during the month of April. And as a request came in, we would contact the person who had the hotspot the longest, so they could return that, and then somebody else could check it out. We figured that was probably the most equitable way to spread the resource that we had around. And so that's why there should be 8 circulations, in Mount Orab for April, even though we weren't actually having people come in. We did have that many, but we cannot figure out why SEO's automatic checkout system didn't record those. Yeah, who knows? We haven't figured that one out yet. We may never, but so that's something, if you want to change it, you can. It should read 8. As for Overdrive, that's not just ebooks. You've also got some video there as well, some magazines. And so you can see the first 4 months of the year. There's not as huge an increase as you might have anticipated in the number of those kinds of circulations. But it will be interesting to see whether that small increase actually carries out, a longer term. But when you look at the year-to-date numbers in comparison to year-to-date the prior year, there are several hundred, 400 more this year than there were last year. And probably, I didn't do the percentages, but when you look at percentage, it's probably a decent increase. And then Hoopla are a variety as well. You've got ebooks, you've got music, you've got movies. These are all simultaneous use though, so that you're not waiting for things like you are on Overdrive. And we have seen an increase in the number of people subscribing to the service, and also, as you can see, using the service as well. So that one, it's pretty easy to see a big increase. I don't anticipate any, real changes to that either. So
I thought it would actually increase more than it did. I was surprised that it didn't.
well, if you did the numbers, so it went up about 400 points. So 400 divided by 1800 is what? Who's got their brain calculator out and can figure out that percentage really quick?
I have no brain anymore. Oh gosh. But I was surprised. I thought we would have, a lot, because life has, closed down basically. So this is one of the outlets.
Well, this is true. And I see Heather, and I won't touch my unmute button. Heather, you unmute yourself.
Did we say anything about Overdrive Advantage? Did we tell you guys that we switched over to that?
No. What does that mean?
Overdrive Advantage means that whatever we are purchasing is similar to our print books. Our patrons actually get them first before they're checked out by the consortium. So we can try to fulfill some of their holds, especially on those big books,
Yeah.
1,200 holds.
Mm.
We were
Okay.
excited.
Yeah, so
Okay.
a much better way to provide our local patrons with more rapid service. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm open to suggestions about that as well. I can continue to show you the numbers for Hoopla and the Overdrive and the hotspots every month. And, part of me doesn't want to completely change our reporting, our monthly reporting format, and then in another, 4 or 5 months have to change it again because
Yeah.
it's something different. So I may just leave that as it is and then give you the electronic numbers as well. Because it will be nice to see, actually, now that we've started Curbside, it will be nice to see some of those numbers of regular kinds of circulation of physical items start back up. So,
Right.
okay, report and statistics. And do you want me to go on to announcements then, Kathleen?
I
Sure.
don't know if you'd covered the announcements or not.
Not yet. No, not yet.
Okay.
Does
All right.
anybody want me to attempt to share the screen, since I had just emailed those to you today, this morning? I can put the announcements up on the screen so you can see them. Maybe I can. I practiced.
Well, you can just go over them. We don't have to. Oh, that's nice.
No, that's the background for my big monitor. I don't want that. All right, let me try the other.
Just read them, Lynn. It's okay.
You
We can
sure?
handle. Yeah, we can handle it. We can handle it.
Well, all right. Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to do that because it really doesn't want me to.
We're back on your computer,
Yep,
I think.
yep.
I believe.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
And come on, you can do it. There we go. It's loading.
Okay. All right.
You see them now?
Uh-huh. Yes.
All right, good. So, what's important to know here? As far as facilities stuff, I'm not really going to talk about the what's going on for COVID-19 because we'll talk about that more later, but things we've already talked about before are going on. We are continuing normal things like our pest control treatment and our seasonal HVAC, because that's all got to continue working regardless of
Right.
how many people are in the building.
Right.
I had been giving you some reports on my own activities. I tried as best I could to combine when I've got other people also representing the library to outside organizations. And I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I feel like I'm almost going to more meetings now that we can do them all remotely, instead of having to drive to them. So lots and lots of conference calls and video
Right.
calls going on. But, you know, what's really important is that, you know, people are connecting with each other still. We aren't all just isolated in our own little places. We are, you know, all functioning as best we can and sharing information about what we know that might be impacting one another. Big initiative for the library right now, summer reading program, because we are converting this all to a virtual opportunity. Megan, I was going to call her Megan Harold, but she got married. Megan Harold Stewart, our youth librarian, is lead on this. She's doing a fantastic job of finding out what's going on, coming up with ideas, organizing and motivating the team of youth programmers. And so they've got a plan where they will all share responsibility for creating content and recording content and providing, making sure that there are prizes for the kids still to, you know, help prevent that summer slide. So they've divided it up so that no one is overwhelmed with any one activity, and they're all contributing that way. And we've got a couple of other staff members who are doing Guiding Ohio Online activities to help with the virtual end of that, doing the recordings, uploading them to YouTube, whatever ways seem to be appropriate. I do not know, and maybe Heather, if you guys have planned anything, you might want to let the board know if there are any specific live events that we're going to be broadcasting by the branches. I know Tanya in Georgetown was talking about having something that was going to be available, but I don't recall specifically what it was. You don't know either? Okay, well, good. That's two of us.
That's good. Well, we don't want to rush into this, you guys.
Well, and again, none of this is going to be in person. It's all virtual, so that people can do it.
But
at
it's
their pace.
supposed to start on June 8th for the summer program?
No, the summer reading program is whatever's the 22nd or 15th. Heather, help me out here. 15th.
Okay.
Yes, the 15th is when that starts. So they've been diligently working on that. Now, we're also looking into the summer feeding program, and Heather actually has been in charge of making contact because she's done it so well in the past, right? Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
The guidelines for the federal program have changed. They've loosened up, as have a lot of things. Yay, yes. They were very strict about, you know, a very short time period where you could feed people. They had to eat it there on site. A lot of that is loosened up, where I mentioned in the announcements, it could be grab and go. Problem is, you know, we do not have money. We can't front money for food. We need a sponsor still. So we're trying to get ABCAP involved, but there's a little bit of miscommunication or misunderstanding. And so Heather very wisely included everybody in a group message yesterday or the day before to try and get everyone on the same page and thinking about this the same way. So we do not have any definite information about this unless something has happened in the last 12 hours or so, Heather, that, no, yeah, I didn't figure. I just thought I'd give you the chance. So we're, you know, we don't know when we'll know, but it would be something that we could, you know, either give a time frame where people could just drive through and pick up meals, or else could schedule appointments, and we could strongly encourage people to schedule their meal pickup when they come to get their materials or their kits for their summer reading program craft or whatever else it might be that links it to the library and our other activities.
That
I did
sounds-
mention that IMLS did release a grant for libraries. So this is one of the few additional funding mechanisms that libraries are eligible for. This is number 5 on your announcement list.
Mhm.
What's different about this federal grant. Now, IMLS is the organization that gives money for the Guiding Ohio Online program, but with Guiding Ohio Online, IMLS, which is federal, gives money to the state library, and then the state library, handles and distributes it. In this pandemic grant, libraries actually apply directly to the federal government, which in itself can be maybe a little bit more daunting, but the silver lining is there is no local match required,
It's good. Oh,
which is huge in this particular scenario that we're in right now. Minimum request is $25,000. I think maximum was $500,000. It was a huge amount, yes. But things that will be focused on providing services to patrons, in these new conditions. And so our first, thought was, okay, getting laptops and more hotspots, both so that patrons can check out both of those, not just hotspots, but also
right.
use them in the library more socially distanced, so we can start weaning ourselves of our desktop computers and be able to check out a laptop to use in the library, but people could go and sit around the branch wherever. I also would like to see us be able to get some that staff could then use for working remotely as well. So we're looking into this. You can see the deadline is not that far away.
No, it's not.
Lots of things to check off on an application to the federal government. So we're going to be really focusing our effort on that in the next couple of weeks. Karen, you had mentioned June 8th, and number 6 is June 8th, and that's the summer youth workers, where we've been a work site for the summer youth worker program before.
Right. Okay.
It is a little bit.
Back up to number
Sorry.
4.
Yes,
the
go ahead.
Summer feeding program.
Yes.
I wonder if ABCAP and Children's Hunger Alliance, if they're working with the schools, because the schools are providing a large amount of meals to families. They were delivering them. Go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, I was gonna say Heather's got some news.
Yeah.
As far as my conversations have went with the Children's Hunger Alliance and ABCAP, ABCAP is not working at all with the schools. They're concentrating on the rural delivery, which is basically based on income, and they're boxing food and actually delivering it to people's houses. Children's Hunger Alliance is where a lot of the confusion has went back and forth with, because I'm not sure they know who all that they're working with, who is working together on things.
Oh,
So
dear.
I have continuously told them that we've worked with ABCAP in the past, because we've done the last 2 years summer food service program, and you have to have a sponsor, because you can't, we can't pay it up front and get reimbursed, and we don't have a vendor's license, and we don't have time to get quotes from 3 different places and check all their licensing. So I've told them that, but then I asked them, because I knew the school in Mount Orb was working with United Methodist Church, and Children's Hunger Alliance is listed as one of the helpers for them. But
Not sure who Fayetteville's working with, but I know the vocational school, they have meals for students and parents, but that would be, just basically junior and senior students and their families. But like Fayetteville, it's probably elementary, middle school, high school. I think they close to 100 families.
I think
It'd be nice if some people don't want to disclose what their income is because they're embarrassed,
correct.
And
Right.
it'd just be nice if everybody worked together and everybody didn't have to go hungry. And
Okay.
then I'm done with that. And then on to number 5. Would that 25,000, it's a minimum, would that be for, include all the branches?
Yes, it would
Yes.
include all
I
of the
just know
branches.
here in Fayetteville, I've just been saving the daily paper crossword puzzles for a lady that went to the library every day because she didn't have a computer, didn't have internet,
Mhm,
because she's a widow and can't afford it.
mhm.
Right.
And I'm sure she's probably not the only one in any of the areas. The
Right.
hot spots, students, that's, I think it would be a good grant to try to work to apply for, and, get as many laptops and hotspots as we could possibly get. Because actually, this isn't just during a pandemic, it's all the time.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're correct. And I actually was on one of the meetings I attended, the Business Advisory Council. That's educators and people from the business community. And Mr. Carlier was in that meeting, and he was talking, and I believe Mr. Wilkins from Ripley was, the two of them specifically mentioned some of the struggles with not having the devices or not having internet access for their kids.
Right.
So, we've heard it, and, we've had the discussion. And so I made a real point to mention in that group, the library's been doing that. We've got the hot spots.
no local match required. That's unusual.
Exactly. Now, the other thing is, okay, I think they're only giving 90 or 100 awards. So we've got to make this a good grant. Yeah.
Yeah.
No guarantees here, but yeah, so we're not going to, all branches would be included, absolutely, because, and I'm not even sure we would, say, okay, 4 for that branch, 6 for this branch, we'd look at a total that we could share them as the need drove it.
If they, what brand of laptops are you looking at?
I don't know, to be quite honest, what we would do. I think I would turn to our IT consultant, who was very quick to do us a quote for Chromebooks that we were thinking about using right here in the building itself. And so, we might do that, but we would go for something that's pretty sturdy, could stand up to some handling. But yeah, I'm sure the people in the education world, Tracy Werner, would probably have some suggestions for us, as well as our IT.
Some are more expensive than others, but
Exactly. So
I'm
look at that. And
when I had to learn DOS, I became an Apple lover.
yeah.
I thought I'd go nuts learning that.
Yeah. So, so the summer youth workers, again, if we can do that, we will. They are limited now. It used to be they were 40 hours per week, and now they can only work 20 hours per week. I think I'm remembering that correctly, Heather. We'll just see what happens. We thought they would be ideal to help us roll out the summer feeding program and make appointments for people to come and pick up meals and that kind of thing, and help us with all the materials. So we'll see whether we get people assigned, and if we're doing if we do have people assigned, we always have the right of refusal, because not everyone is cut out to work at the library just because they have potentially been assigned to us, chosen by the other organization. So, but that, Karen, is what would be starting June 8th.
Right. I understand that.
I mentioned Guiding Ohio Online already. That will end September 30th. We will not renew that one or reapply. And then normally in the May meeting, I'm giving you next year's budget to approve. I do not have it done because I am really struggling with what to do about staffing. And I'd like you to
Mm.
give guidance about that. You know, do I build next year's budget just thinking we're going to go back to the way it was? Or do it with a whole new plan for how we're going to be using staffing, you know, and it's going to be more about content development and providing things remotely. And so I could really use some direction from you before I put something together that you'll approve on June 10th.
Lynn, we have no idea, so proceed with full staffing. Because we have no idea and we can't make those assumptions, what the future's going to hold. So my vote would be just proceed as normal. And then we could always tweak it down the road if need be.
Okay, that sounds good, Mark.
I
See
agree.
nodding heads.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that
That
sounds
really
good.
helped. I was torn. I like to try and be, you know, realistic or thinking about, oh, this is what we're going to do, but yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah,
Next month starts the usual cycle for performance evaluations for the fiscal officer and executive director. Now, Sarah started in August, is that right? So I didn't know if you wanted to tweak the timing of this so that hers would then be in August rather than us doing it in June like we had been doing.
I think that sounds good, Lynn.
You too.
Yes. Yeah,
Sounds good to me.
yeah.
So Sarah and so how about mine then? Do you want to do mine before? Normally you like to break it up so you're not doing both of them at the same time.
Right.
Before, you want to do it July then?
Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good.
So what I will do is I will send out the forms, you know, before that particular board meeting. And I guess at that point, we'll figure out whether people are going to be meeting in person or how we're going to do a performance evaluation virtually, if that's going to change things. So.
Yeah.
And then I am actually going to try and burn some comp time next week and give my brain a break. And then I do have my normal 2 weeks, end of June, beginning of July, vacation scheduled. Nobody's going to stop me from going home to Vermont. So there. Governors of both states. We're gonna go and visit family, and guess what? If we're quarantined by the lake, oh, what a shame.
That's all right. That sounds good to me. Sounds good. Yeah.
So that's a lot of stuff, but there's been a lot of stuff going on. Any questions, thoughts, other things about that? No? Okay.
Nope.
I'm gonna stop sharing that screen. Woohoo. All right.
Okay. So I guess we're on to
State
number 6,
Library.
right? Okay, we need a motion to approve contract with State Library of Ohio for statewide delivery service for the period 7/1/2020 to 6/30/2021. Service to include 2 deliveries per branch per week at $3,305.50 per branch. The total, I guess, contract fee is $13,222. Do we have a motion?
I move.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Who second?
Tracy.
Tracy, thank you. All right, Mark,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
and Kathleen.
Yes.
So just as an FYI, that's the same rate as the prior year. They did not increase the fees, but the management team did decide that based upon the fact that we are don't yet have delivery. We don't know when it's going to start. We don't know that people are going to start picking up the pace with ordering from other places again very quickly. We could at least get to January with that fewer delivery days. And if we need to adjust, I'm sure they will have no problem with us adding service. They would have a problem with us taking away service in the middle of the year. So
Okay.
the plan.
Okay, number 7, motion to approve change of loan periods for music, movies, and games from 7 days to 14 days. Do we have a
Sounds good.
motion?
I make a motion to move it to 14 days.
I will second. Sue.
Okay, good show.
Mark,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes,
Tracy,
Yes.
and Kathleen.
Yes. Number 8, motion to approve disposal of excess inventory.
Can I say something about the loan periods before we get to the next
Oh,
topic?
sure.
oh,
Okay.
sure, Lynn. We already passed it. What do you want to say?
So last time you had changed the 21 days to the 28 days, but somehow in our brains, the management team, or maybe it was just me, forgot that, oh, we've got things at 7 days and we really needed to extend those as well. So now everything that we circulate is either at the 14 days or at 28 days. Almost everything renews except for the browsing collection, and the hotspots also do not renew.
Okay.
Want to give you
Okay.
a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Okay, then, did we do the motion to approve of the disposal?
Not yet.
Did we do that?
No.
No,
No? Okay. We need a motion to approve disposal of excess inventory.
Tracy, I'll move.
Tracy moved.
I'll
Second.
move. I'll second.
Okay.
Mark,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes,
Tracy,
Yes.
and Kathleen.
Yes. Number 9, COVID-19 update.
So we aren't going to be discussing this like we discussed the whole time at the last meeting, but I wanted you to have some specifics about how we've rolled out what you all approved last time. So we did go ahead and start the contactless curbside service last week. Managers say that patrons are very happy to have at least that and to be able to return materials. And Heather, I don't know if you've got any other specific, if you've got any special patron comments that you'd like to share with the board about return to some service. It's all good, huh? All right. Yeah, I threw you under the bus enough, huh? But we have had a lot of return materials. I was kind of surprised at how much people wanted to get them out of their houses. So if you might have seen somewhere in the communications from Ohio Library Council or some other place that the recommendation right now is for a minimum of 72 hours quarantine. And because the study is still in process and we do not have what the library world is looking at as the definitive answer from Battelle and OCLC, that study, we are erring on the side of extreme caution by doing it for a week. I think that's a good way to let our patrons know, listen, we're not taking chances, we're being extra cautious so that you don't have to worry about our stuff like you might worry about the bagged up groceries that you've got coming home. So that was really kind of the idea behind that. And the fact that, again, we can reduce the time of quarantine based upon what happens with the Battelle study, but it would be harder to explain why we have to lengthen the quarantine period. So hoping that they don't find something more than 7 days of quarantine needed. I kind of doubt it.
I got it.
Yeah. So since statewide delivery has not been started, the managers did come up with a plan for a weekly exchange. You know, they basically come to the Mount Orab Library, bring everything that they collected throughout the week from local returns, and then do that exchange here. Everybody picks up their stuff and takes it back to their branch. So that seems to be working pretty well so far. I suppose that, you know, if we find an overabundance of returns, you know, we can do that more days per week, but once per week seems to be working with only 3 days of actual service in the branches. Summer reading program, we did talk about that before. Staffing considerations. So, you know, right now we're working with the library associates and the management team, working at that 75% level of their hours. You know, we do need to consider when it's time to do appointments that we're going to need to change up the furlough, and whether that means we invite people back who by seniority, and maybe only do a 20% of those people's hours, which would, as far as my reading of the unemployment goes, they can work up to 20% of their hours without it impacting their unemployment benefits. So that would still be saving us a significant amount of money if we only have a couple more people and a little bit more hours. But at the same time, we're looking into the shared work program so that we could use that as the subsidy. Timing, who knows? You know, we don't know yet, but we're trying to make the plan for when we need people back. I really think that the nature of work is changing, and we need to plan for longer term people not needing to regularly be in the buildings. And so we're going to need to start looking at position descriptions and which duties can be done off-site. I think that will help as long as we need to continue doing social distancing. You know, we can stagger when people are in the buildings. We're not crowding on top of each other. We might even alleviate some of our crowding out in the public areas as well as we're looking at this. So, but there are other considerations, and that's why I said this IMLS grant could help potentially with us being able to move in that direction with remote work on a regular mid to long-term basis. Tracy knows all about that because she does it pretty regularly, and she says it works really well. Yes. You know, it could keep our overhead down quite a bit going this direction. Statistics and reporting, you know, we're playing with that. We talked about that already in this meeting. We'll have to see both locally and statewide. We've already had a couple of indications from the state that we're going to have to supply them with data that's just about pandemic services for the next state annual report. So that's going to be new that we'll have to track as well. There's always something new to count and new to track. Ohio Library Council continues to provide us with really good information. It's number 6C, and I don't know if, I think I sent this, or I did this after. Let me see if I can pull this up here for you all. I'm talking about these, and you didn't even probably see them. Here we go. Okay. This is the list I'm going down right now. So number 6, Ohio Library Council support, that letter C, they are offering a toolkit through Voorhees, which is their Ohio Library Council's attorney, which includes several hours of actual legal advice, consultation, and templates, forms, kits, everything that would be needed to cover the legal concerns. Mark, last month or last meeting, you had asked about it, you know, the disclaimer, the waiver form. So that's part of what we would, you know, be getting in this package. So I have not contacted them directly to find out what our fee would be. And I'm guessing that the difference in pricing might be how many hours of actual lawyer contact we want to have. But I think it will be money well spent, so we don't have to come up with our own forms that may not, be as accurate as they need to be. And we know that we're getting the guidance that we need. So just so you know, if you see an expenditure, that's what I'm intending to do is to
Okay.
pursue that through Ohio Library Council's attorneys.
That sounds good. Yes.
And then, yeah, bigger picture, we need to look at our buildings as we plan for, by appointment and how we're going to deal with that. So I've talked about the plexiglass shields at our circulation desks. Those have arrived and are being installed. We're buying some decals for floors from a local printer to help with that spacing, that social distancing spacing. We're continuing to tweak cleaning schedules, and as I mentioned, while the laptops through the grant, if we get it, are a little bit far away, we need to plan for the fact that we can't have people right on top of each other if they're using computers, have appointments that way. Longer term, are we going to be doing some major renovation of our floor plans so that we can guide, spread out the activity? I had this vision of, wow, we might go back to, 100 years ago when libraries were closed stacks that staff went and retrieved things, and have separate small browsing areas that we could easily control and sanitize and keep people from going everywhere in the building, at least for, the foreseeable future. And that way people could come in and get some of the browsing, which is so important in a public library, to be able to, look and be serendipitously find things on the shelves that they might want to read or view. So I think we need to be creative about that and think about maybe everything old is new again in terms of our actual service model on site. So Heather's hearing this for the first time if she's actually listening to me. So that's something that, we'll bring to the management team and have them think about, how do they do that? Particularly Georgetown with its 3 floors, that's going to be a challenge, and smaller spaces like Sardinia, we'll see how it goes, but we may be looking at that as a way to allow people to come in and do some of what would be a normal, browsing activity, but not be in a position where we're spending all the money that we've got on deep cleaning every time we turn around. We can't go there either. So just some things to think about. And yeah, I see Sue. Go ahead.
I'm just thinking if you have a small browsing area and you offer some, the inexpensive gloves, and if they want to pick out books, they have to put the gloves on, and when they're done, they peel them off and throw them away.
Right. Also, we should have some way to register temperatures when they come in, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe that's wrong.
The only problem with that is so many people that are carrying this don't ever have a fever. It's only when you actually get it that you have a fever. So, if you exhibit. So it's not what I'm saying is it's not a foolproof way to make things are okay.
I don't know. There seems to be an argument for everything. Gloves, masks, screening, we don't know what's happening. We just don't.
Just on the brighter side, I have a YouTube video of a woman that's has trouble seeing and is making a face mask. If you want a good laugh, see if you can access that. But everybody I've showed it to has had a really good laugh out of it. But as I'm sitting here, I don't think we've ever stopped to think we're lucky.
Yes, we are.
Look at what these young kids have gone through in school.
I know.
No prom, no graduation, really. Like the normal graduation. But I can say, we've got board members, Tracy, your
Mhm.
experience, Karen, your experience, Mark to help us in the insurance field, Lynn, we're lucky.
We are lucky. You're right. We
I
are.
don't think all libraries are that lucky.
No.
I can think back of some of the stress we went through. I'm sure Lynn remembers. And none of you were part of that.
Well, I don't know. I'm getting up there, getting up to your age. So just a matter of a year or two.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Well,
I don't
and,
know where the years go. Do we have any other business?
no, but just to address, Karen's concern, and then Tracy also has got something to say as well.
Okay.
All of those items that, the temperature, the masks, the gloves, those are all things that most of them, the board has discretion about what you want to require of patrons.
Okay.
And so, the management team, as we are looking at logistically, how do we start bringing the public back in?
That's right.
What kinds of things do we need the board to set as your requirements? There are always exceptions to everything. So even if you say everybody has to wear a mask, there are a couple of reasons that people can give for not wearing masks.
I
So,
know.
we just have to be aware of all of these things and be very clear about what our policy will be at the time.
Right.
And then, we go from there. So, and Tracy, you were going to say something.
I have two quick things. One was an idea. Would any of those IMLS funds qualify us for like maybe a drive-through window on our branches?
I know Karen's laughing because she's wanted one forever. Forever.
Yeah, when I mentioned that, everybody just kind of stopped. And then somebody else got a drive-in window. So I had to hurry and give that to Lynn.
Oh,
So
okay.
the other people had drive-in windows. We believed in them because when you have a sick patron and they're coughing in your face, it would be much nicer if they would drive up. Or if they left their dog in their car, all kinds of reasons for having a drive-up window, believe me.
Well, unfortunately, the IMLS funds specifically state no construction.
Okay. Or with that idea. All right. So
Too
the
bad.
second thing I wanted to mention, Lynn, and I'm kind of throwing this out to you, and I think the rest of the board, you can listen to it and decide if it sounds like something that might be interesting. I know you guys know that I am affiliated with InfoHio, which is the state agency that provides tons and tons of resource databases and research databases for students in the K-12 environment, their families and everybody. And they're rolled out a new thing called an iPartner program, where they're looking for other educational and library agencies across the state to kind of partner with them to help bring those resources to the K-12 students that happen to be in their environment. And it has a small training component, like a 2-hour little online go through clickety click and learn about what's out there. And then you get your name put on our website as a partner, and you get a badge if you want to use it on some of your social media stuff. There, I counted right now, along with ESCs and college libraries and all kinds of other things, there are 19 public library systems right now
Really?
that are participating. And so I thought I'd fling it out there. It might be something interesting for your youth services people to take on. Not that they don't already have enough right now, but this may not be the right time, but I just wanted to get it out there.
That's
It's
great.
a 1-year renewal. You have to do a little bit of something like post flyers or work with a group of students or anything like that counts. You just, you have to do one thing every year to show that you're working on it.
That's
Well, that sounds good.
It does. And actually, that's one of the areas that we come back around to pretty frequently is how do we offer things that are focused more towards the tutoring or homework help or anything that can provide those kinds of resources. Now, I know that you're not talking about that kind of live assistance, but you know,
Right.
with the implementation of our chat service and the combination of that and these resources being available, that might be a place where we then can, you know, get volunteers to remotely, you know, provide some kind of services that just focuses on providing
Yeah.
quote after school, you know, schoolwork help. So that's,
Yeah.
I
Or
like.
even just if the people in the library are more familiar with what is available
Yeah.
out there, they can point the kids and say, oh no, you know, I know what you could use. Let's go look at this database, and then you just turn them loose, but just get them there.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks.
Sounds good.
I appreciate you
Yeah.
considering it.
Sounds good. It doesn't cost anything, right, Tracy?
Oh no.
Oh, see, now that's good right there.
That's really good right there.
Yes. Okay.
Kathleen, you had asked, I think you'd moved on to asking if there was other business. I don't have anything else that hasn't already been inserted into the agenda.
So our next meeting is Wednesday, June the 10th at the Mount Orb Library,
Maybe.
pending the stay-at-home order.
Right, and I see Heather
Okay.
actually raising her hand also.
If we had it at the Mount Orb Library, it would have to be out in the open at the round tables because our meeting room is full of returns right now and quarantine books and cargo books
Mhm.
Yeah.
full.
Yeah, my best guess is that that's going to be too early for any requirement for public bodies to go back to meeting together because, you know, while we're a relatively small body, there are other bodies that are much larger and can't because it violates that 10 person mass gathering. So I think we can plan on it. I'm just trying to keep it in there as a reminder to us that, you know, at some point we may be doing that and we may have the flexibility for people who want to be on site and for us
Right.
to also continue to do video for anybody who does not want to be on site at that point in time. You know, like right now, legally, the ability to do this goes through December 1st, I think, or when the emergency order gets completely rescinded. But yeah, it doesn't seem to me that it's quite rescinded quite yet. And then just to remind you all that June 10th is a whole lot earlier than we normally meet.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This seems to be not the third week.
It is not, because the thought process, I believe, was that the governor would be telling us what's going to happen with the stay-at-home order that was supposed to end on the 31st of May or the 29th of May, and he wasn't going to be rolling that out until the very end of the month. The meeting was moved up a little bit to be able to address whatever ramifications were going to come of that. Now, we've seen already a little bit more loosening than I anticipated this quickly, but we still, I think, meeting the 10th is fine. I don't know if Sarah, you might have the books closed and the financial reports because I'm going to have to mail packets on the 3rd of June. That's really close to the end of the prior month. So I'm not going to guarantee much in the way of the statistical or building reports, but I'll do my best to get those in the mailed packets. Obviously, I managed to share some screens tonight, so I can do it if I have to do it next round. But yeah.
Do we want to reconsider and just put it back on the 3rd week? If there's not even going to be that much information to share at that point?
I think based upon the fact that we're going to need to do something about the service that we're rolling out.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea to meet on the 10th.
Okay.
Because the management team will be planning for what is next. I mean, you already gave the managers permission starting the 1st of June to do by appointment as it's requested. And I think by the time the 10th rolls around, we'll know whether we need to just really expand curbside or do more appointments or something based upon how everything else is going.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I mean, we're not a full month away, so there won't be a lot of other activity. I think we'll be focused on what's the next service operational step. And I anticipate there might be another contract or two. It's about time for the Ohio Plan contract to come up. So there will be a couple of other kind of standard things we'll need to address, but the reporting may be a little bit behind.
Yeah.
Okay.
And committee meetings will be determined. Okay, I guess we're ready to adjourn.
Okay.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
everyone.
evening.
Everybody.
Bye,
Remember
guys.
Titanic Sunday night.
Stay
Yeah.
safe.
Stay safe. Be
Bye-bye.
wise.
Hey,
Bye-bye.
Lynn,
Bye-bye.
Yes.
I
Bye.
just wanted to tell you that Tanya was on. She did the YouTube because of her dogs
Oh.
and husband.
Oh, that's what it was. Oh, okay.
Her dog snores really loudly.
Yeah, mine has been too. And I'm like, man, mute.
That's
Uh,
good.
Have a good weekend, folks.
Thanks, you too.
Yes.
Bye now.
Take care.